Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's coverage of the Touring Kart Championship League. This evening, we're excited to bring you coverage from iRacing's virtual Rockingham Speedway. Maconi Entertainment is here to bring you action from all types of racing, including the weekly Fast Friday series. No matter what you are racing, we can bring the action to life. My name is Alexander Valderas, and joining me in the booth tonight is Nick Steen, with DJ Lion working the controls as our producer, DJ using cameras provided by the great Dougie Beard. Nick, Rockingham is a fast, fun, and difficult track for these drivers to take on. The surface is almost like a cheese grater on these tires, and if you push too hard, these drivers can find themselves in the outside wall. A lot of these guys are going to have to race smart here tonight, and a lot of them are going to have to race fast. Nick, what can we expect on track tonight?
You know, I've called a few races at Rockingham, and it seems like every time that I call a race here, I say the same thing. This track is like Iowa's demented big brother. It's got the same bumps, the same kind of banking, and it's got all the characteristics of Iowa while being almost completely different. Plus, you have the two different levels of banking in each corner. So, like I said, I like to call this Iowa's demented big brother because it is a bigger racetrack, but it's got a lot of the same characteristics as Iowa. So, I think if these guys can avoid the bumps on each of these corners and just kind of survive this track, this race is going to be about racing the track and not the car once again.
Car control at its peak here tonight in Rockingham. Some track information on your screen. Opened in 1965 in the great city of Rockingham, North Carolina. And as you mentioned, different bankings in turns 1 and 2. Then in a mile in length, tonight's race is going to be a great one. Your Rockingham International Speedway, otherwise called The Rock in North Carolina. A lot of these drivers are going to have to take on a challenge here tonight. Next week is an off week. Then we go to Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Be sure to join in on some fun Vegas action. We're going to roll the dice and see if we get lucky. Then next week after that, Auto Club and North Wilkesboro. Sure to be a barn burner of a race. Darlington and Bristol just after that. Milwaukee, another great mile-long track, and then another off week. Then, in January 8th, tune in for Charlotte. And that rounds out the schedule. So, we saw a great race last week after Daytona, week 1 of 36. In the point standings, 7 Hawthorne came home with the win, and he just barely edges out Christian Leonard in the point standings. And it's Kyle Manger, Jake Innes, Indy Casey, Eugene Alonso, Matt Haas, Kevin Aguilar, Justin Noel, and Pierce Carone rounding out the top 10 in points. So the challenge is tonight, The Rock and Rockingham's challenging surface. A lot of these bumps, a lot of these tracks, it's just going to be a tough race for these guys here tonight. Their tires are going to be screaming in pain after a 5-lap run. Nick, you said you've seen some races here at The Rock. Tell me some experience you've seen and what maybe these drivers need to do to take home the win here tonight.
Well, the biggest thing is going to be avoiding the exit of the turn 2 wall. That wall will come up very, very quickly if you're not careful. So I think as long as guys are able to avoid hitting that outside wall coming off of turn 2, they'll be just fine. But you also got to avoid if there's a wreck on the front stretch, you got to figure out how to avoid that. Because for whatever reason with this track, if you're coming off of turn 4 and you manage to spin, it'll spit you right back up onto the track. So if we have a couple of spinners tonight, we may see a pretty big wreck tonight. So that's going to be another one. Just got to avoid all of the mayhem that this place can bring.
Mayhem this place can bring indeed. A lot of these drivers going to have to look out for what's going to be an absolutely exciting race. I saw one with the B car used here just a few months ago, and that was one of the best races I've ever seen. The side-by-side action, they were 3 wide coming out of 4. So don't underestimate what lanes you can use here, because this is a multi-groove track. You can either rip the fence, rip the bottom, or you can run in the middle. So we're going to see a lot of different lanes being used here tonight. And those lanes can be used at the advantage and the disadvantage of others. Now, the fastest lane overall, including saving tires, that's going to change from time to time. And as the track temp fluctuates with the weather variation going on, Nick, what do you think we could see as far as weather?
Well, it's a 76-degree air temp right now with a 90-degree track temp. So yeah, these tires are definitely going to be screaming in pain pretty quickly into this race. And of course, you got to look at the wind here. Southeast is 7 miles an hour. It ain't going to do much because it is a short track, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. But you're right with the multiple different lanes and how that can change over the race, as well as we're going to see a lot of these guys running that middle to save the tires to start this race. But I do think that'll move to the bottom as the race goes on and this track gets rubbered in a little bit.
And I think one thing that we're going to have to take a look at here is the track temp indeed. One key, I believe, to winning this race is not overheating the right rear. 90-degree track temps and all the sliding with the bumps, and with iRacing modeling the bumps as increasing tire temperature, this is going to be a hot one here tonight. A lot of these drivers are going to have to deal with excruciating right rear temps, and controlling that is going to be the name of the game. So, as we get ready to look on through the rest of qualifying, a lot of these drivers already have set their lap times. We're going to take a look here and see what we can see. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back for the start. Don't go anywhere. It's the Rockingham 99 on Maconi Entertainment.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back again with the Rockingham 99, and qualifying still not yet underway. Gonna get word from the admins on whether or not they'll hurry up the qualifying session there. But gonna take a quick look at some of the conditions we'll be experiencing once again here tonight. Rockingham, gonna be a hot one. The track temp's over 90 degrees. Air temp is about 76 degrees Fahrenheit. The track temp at 90 degrees Fahrenheit. That will change on throughout the race due to cloud cover or due to the sun being out more than usual. And the wind speed of southeast 7 miles an hour. Now, it's not going to be that much of an effect, but if the air hits these cars wrong with how loose they're already going to be at these excruciating track temps, we could see some incidents caused by seemingly nothing, but that could just be the wind blowing around these cars. Gonna be a good one here tonight from The Rock, otherwise known as Rockingham Speedway. A little more track facts. Closed in 2015 through 2020, then reopened thanks to government funding and family support. Go show your local racetracks some love. We don't want to see any nearby racing close, as that wouldn't bring some more talent into the great sport that we love of oval racing. But got a lot of things on our plate tonight. These drivers are going to have a can't say too tough to tame because that's Darlington, but they're going to have a lot on their plate to at least wrangle with on this track. a lot of these bumps and a lot of this multi-groove action sure is great for racing, but is it good for tire wear? A lot of these guys struggling with that tire wear we saw at Daytona, getting real loose and not understanding really the weight shifty feeling of these Xfinity cars. It's going to be tough when you're trying to rip that fence and all of a sudden the car wants to spin around for me on the rear. That right rear is going to pop off the wall. And while that can be fast, if you get too much damage, you will overall be slower. So these guys are going to have a fine line to tread with tonight. Do I run the bottom and save my tires, but be at risk of being slower to the guys ripping the fence? But they may be the ones to save their tires. Alonso on pole. As of right now, provisional polls, and it's Grace, Casey, Haas, and Knoll all in the top 5, and the rest have not set lap times. So only about your top 5 actually on the board. The rest of the drivers still not choosing to set a Nick, any thoughts while we're waiting to see if the admins can hurry up qualifying?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just going to be all about saving the tires tonight. You've talked about that a little bit, and you were talking about the difference between, ripping the top, ripping that wall, and ripping the bottom and seeing what's faster. I don't think we're going to see that much of a split. We'll definitely see people running the top, but we're also going to be just seeing people running that middle, kind of getting the best of both worlds. The tire saving on the bottom, the quickness on running the top. So I think we're going to see a lot of people run that kind of middle groove, and then we'll maybe see people start to move down as the race goes on and the tires start to wear. But yeah, you're definitely right. These guys are going to be loose, as you said. This track is just a cheese grater on the tires.
Well, with track temp slowly starting to go down, we could see some changes in how that might affect the tires on these race cars, and they have finally advanced qualifying. We're going to get the gridding underway here shortly as the pace car now plumps onto the racetrack. Here's a look at the starting grid. The TK National Series Rockingham 99, Eugenio Alonso on pole over Colin Grace into Casey, then Mott Haas in the 4th position, Justin Knoll in 5th and at number 85, and Santiago Gutierrez, the first person to not set a lap. He will start in 6th, and the rest of these guys have not set a lap time. They will find themselves 7th through 11th. So with the gridding now getting underway, just a few more guys need to fill their spots. This one is going to be a fun one. We saw an absolute barn burner last week in Daytona. A lot of these guys not used to how this Xfinity car drives when it comes to switching lanes or making aggressive moves. So it's going to be a tough one here from Rockingham. 99 laps, 99 miles. You got to make so many attempts at the corner. You have 99 to do it on each end of the racetrack. So that's 99 times to make a mistake. These drivers are going to get ready to roll off from the grid. Nick, any final thoughts before we get ready for green?
Yeah, like I said, it's just as I said in my pre-race show, it's going to be a game of survival. It's you versus the track. It's not you trying to drive the car around the track. You're trying to drive the track here, and I think that's going to give a lot of people a lot of trouble trying to work their way around. As you said, 99 laps. It's 191 ways to make a mistake. I think that's the right math. 198, I think, is actually the correct way to say that, but 198 mistakes to make over 99 laps, 4 corners each track. So yeah, these guys are definitely going to have a good challenge for them tonight as they're rolling off from their pace.
A test of man versus machine. These drivers out on this racetrack are going to have a tough one, and their hands are going to be full here tonight. From Rockingham in the beautiful state of North Carolina, we're going to get ready to go green as the pace car makes its trip down the backstretch. Now remember, this is only a mile-long track, so the laps might wind down a little faster than we saw there last week with Daytona being a 2.5-mile super speedway. This is a fast track, and we are going to see some great action here from this pretty high banks of Rockingham. All these bumps, all these different lanes are going to be used to the driver's advantage, but which one will come out on top? Eugenio Alonso starting on pole, getting ready to take the field to green. Bit of a smaller field here tonight, but sure going to be on to put on a great show. As we saw here last week in Daytona, pace car is going to make its dive just off of pit road, and we're getting ready to go green, green, green from the first time here in Rockingham.
Gio Alonso getting a great jump there. He's going to get out to a pretty decent lead as Colin Gray, is going to sit in second with Indy Casey in third. That's the 8 of Matt Haas on the outside there. He's trying to ride that wall. He's getting a little bit loose off of turn 4, but Eugenio Alonso is going to lead lap 1.
And a great run by him. But we can already see all these different drivers using those different lanes I was talking about. All 3 immediately being used into turn 1, lap 1. So these guys not wasting a moment. And you can see there the 8 ripping the fence, and he gets loose, and that's exactly what I was saying. You got to know whether to pay the price. Do you want to be a bit slower on the bottom, or do you want to rip the fence and be fast, but be at a higher risk of making a mistake? Riding on board with Eugenio Alonso in the first position, has led every lap of this race so far, lap 3 out of 99. He's looking strong out front right now, but he's going to be challenged there by that 27, who we saw was running great last week. He had some pretty good runs up to the front of the field, so he could be on for a great points finish here tonight.
Yeah, I'll tell you what that did with Matt Haas getting loose on the outside like he did there. That just told a lot of drivers that outside line is not going to be very popular tonight because of how loose he got. He got up in the marbles right up next to the wall, and that got the car extremely loose. So that's going to tell a lot of these drivers not really to try it outside line, at least for a little bit. Maybe once the strike time goes down a little bit, we'll see some people venturing up there, as we're going to have a caution on the track.
And a caution brought out on lap 5 of 99 here in Rockingham, and as the field is going to crawl behind the pace car who fastly exits pit road, we're gonna see if we can get an understanding of maybe how this caution was called. Still no understanding of it yet. The caution was called on lap 5 out of 99. The field will file in the back behind the pace car. And as we're going to take a look and see what brought out the caution, here it is. So as we can see, 89 sends it into the corner, slides his way that burning right rear, and we have a victim of getting loose. Unfortunately, that's going to be some damage to Justin Knoll, but I think that'll buff out just fine as he finds his way down pit road. And a lot of other drivers choosing to stay out, but 2 else come down pit road. As Justin Knoll, the cause of that caution, will come down and he'll go in his pit stall. And what brought up the yellow was, we were saying earlier how these right rear temps are going to be excruciatingly hot for these guys to handle. And that's a perfect example of what we were talking about earlier, Nick.
Yeah, that's just, as you said, a product of getting loose there, and that's something these drivers are going to be battling all night. Of course, it was only lap 5, but, I mean, that's just the nature of Rockingham. You're going to be loose all throughout this race with how bad this track is on tires, and it's a shame to see someone get collected so early, but it is what it is, and that's just the nature of the Rock for you. One of my favorite tracks to drive, so I'm definitely excited to see how this race plays out as we start to get some more laps on these tires.
I don't think he's completely out of this race. I think he has a good chance to get his car back up into the top 5. But as these guys get ready to line up double file behind the pace car, let's take a look at a race analysis here from Rockingham Speedway. 99 laps here, pit road speed, 40 miles an hour. 4 sets available plus the one on the car, so you can really count it as 5 sets. 3 green, white checkered attempts, 2 fast repairs, and a fixed setup. So even if he was to have any race-ending damage, he could come down twice and get it repaired. So we should still see a strong field when it comes to the last handful of laps. These guys getting ready to go into turn number 3 as we get ready to go green once again for the first restart of tonight's race here in Rockingham. It's the Rockingham 499 in the TKC Series. Using the Xfinity car, the pace car is going to make its dive down pit road, and after an early caution, we're going to see the green flag waved again. Eugenio Alonso gets off to a blinding restart.
Yeah, what we just saw, that's going to be the nature of Rockingham. Just amazing restarts for that inside line because you have the banking at your advantage. But right now, we're going to see Colin Grace. He's going to come back up. He's going to be on the outside of Eugenio Alonso here coming off of turn 4. That's something else we forgot to mention pre-race is that outside line. Once it gets fired up, it is way faster than the inside. We're already starting to see that now. Colin Grace, he's going to clear Eugenio Alonso through 1 and 2 and get that amazing run. But actually, he's going to hit the wall coming off of turn 2. That's going to allow Eugenio Alonso to get back in front of Colin Grace and allow Indy Casey to try and attack the 27 machine through turns 3 and 4, side by side for second position right now.
Indy Casey, a prominent runner in the eNASCAR College Series, finds himself battling for the lead here tonight with Eugenio Alonso. They're going to slide up both the racetrack. And that's exactly what you were saying earlier. That top lane, once it gets fired up and once it comes in, it's going to be a formidable force to try and beat. But a lot of these drivers also know that they have to be careful on their tires. We already saw a spin on lap 5. So these guys getting the message early on that it's going to be advantageous to save their tires and it's going to help them in the long run. But say hello to our new leader, Indy Casey. He's going to come home and he's going to take that lap lead, lap 11 out of 99. And right now, our previous leader, Eugenio Alonso, getting settled in. Here's some moves in the back of the pack, and they're already 3 wide.
Yeah, we said that that outside line was going to be really, really powerful, but we just got proven wrong there for a second as Indy Casey just absolutely gapped the field on that inside line. But yeah, 3 wide is possible here at Rockingham, and it's honestly surprising to see it so early, but I mean, you got to make moves in order to do good in races, and we just saw it right there, an absolutely aggressive move there for 3 wide for position.
There's Sam Bowen in that number 13 car. He rear ends the pack. He is the caboose of this group of cars here going through turns 1 and 2. A lot of these guys still side by side with each other. But Indy Casey, in just about 2 laps, has checked out running that bottom lane. He really is using that to his advantage. And some of his drafting buddies and some of his competitors from Daytona trying to claw their way up through the field. And it looks like it's going to work. Lap 14 out of 99, and we've already seen a spin on lap 5. So getting the message across clearly, riding on board with Kyle Manger in that 5 car. Getting the message early that tire saving is going to be a lot more important than these guys probably thought it was going to be. Now, going into this race, a lot of these guys thought, it's going to be a hot one. I have to manage my right rear temps. That's how I'm going to keep on the racetrack, and that's how I'm going to be fast. But tire wear also plays a difference. You could have some of the least worn tires in the field, but if your tire temp gets too hot, you're going to be one of the slowest, and vice versa. So, with these guys now taking some notes from the first 15 laps, they're going to see if they can put those notes in action, and then 8 goes in the wall.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, right now we're watching Kyle Manger, who hit on that original caution, and even though it's only 5-lap different tires, we're already starting to see how much of a difference that can make, as he just almost, for lack of a better word, blew by the 8 of Matt Haas there, but we've seen Matt Haas loose and in the wall a couple of times tonight, and he seems to be falling back through the field as that's John Buwalda going to get around him as well, and that 8 car, he's falling back very, very quickly.
So interesting, different use of strategies we're seeing here tonight from Rockingham as all these guys really using the most out of that track exit, getting right close to the wall. And then some of these guys just absolutely ripping the paint down low. And that's a strategy that has led Indy Casey to come back to the lead. He finds himself with a large gap, almost 3 seconds over Eugenio Alonso. And he's been ripping that bottom this whole time. I think he's understood the assignment. I need to save my tires. I want to make it to the end. And even though I have 4 sets for an only 99-mile race, this is going to be a tough one. Got to make sure that I hold on to my right rear and I don't burn off my right front. Because if I burn off my right front, not only is it going to be sliding throughout the corner, but it's going to be tight throughout the corner. It's not going to turn and it's going to push up the racetrack. Fastest lap for Indy Casey, 24.373 or 143 mile per hour average, as he sets that these 3 back here are racing like it's the last lap. Some of these guys being held up because Eugenio Alonso actually being one of the slower cars on track, kind of holding up this pack here, lap 20 out of 99.
You know, I've raced Eugenio Alonso before in a ton of other leagues, and I know him as a racer. He's not going to give up a position that easily, as Kyle Major is going to make a little bit of contact with John Bawalda, but he is going to keep it straight. But getting back to my previous point, I've raced with Eugenio Alonso, and I like to compare him to Ryan Newman. He'll race you hard, and he won't let you pass easily, but he's going to race you clean, and that seems to be what he's doing right now. He's racing as hard as he can while keeping it clean.
Already starting to see some muscle action. Riding on board with Eugenio Alonso, about a 5-second gap to the leader, and we can already start to see how much tire degradation can play in this race.
Yeah, tire deg is going to be such an important topic for these guys, not only when it comes to how much tire wear is. John Bawalda makes an impressive move into turn 1, and he's going to bring it down on the apron, but he's going to keep it straight somehow. Wow, what a save from the 51 of John Bawalda. He's going to keep it going, but I think he's going to want to calm it down here just to keep the car in one piece.
John Bawalda will send down to the inside, slides up the track, and then he gets loose and slides back down the track. But what an incredible save. He finds himself in that 6th position, about 7 seconds behind the leader. I just got to say, some of these guys have really turned it up from Daytona. What we saw in lack of car control there, we're seeing it being replaced here at Rockingham. A lot of these guys that practice laps really helped. They got an understanding of how this car likes to sway side to side on exit. Really important at a turn 2 that you don't just slide up and door the outside wall or knock it down, as others would say. Very similar to old style Atlanta. The outside wall coming out of turn number 2 gets up on you quick. You don't expect it to be there, but it is. And so when you exit the corner thinking you can keep going and you keep going, you're going to slide up and you're going to smack the wall. And who else is keeping going? Kyle Manger has now caught up to the rear end. Eugenio Alonso now trying to cut down that gap to the leader. He's going to send it on the paint, and he's going to try and make that bottom lane work as well as Casey was. And he's going to do that. He's going to get side by side with Eugenio Alonso going down the back straight with some contact happening down the back. But these guys racing tooth and nail. These guys don't want to give up a spot, and they don't want to relinquish that battle that's going on right now. But right now, Eugenio Alonso trying to have to hold on to all of his positions. And like you were saying, he's just like Ryan Newman. He's going to race you clean, but race you hard and fair. And that's a great example of what he did, but I believe it may have cost Manger some time in trying to catch the leaders.
You know, I'll tell you what, Indy Casey's definitely putting a gap on these guys, but you take a look at second place, Santiago Torres, he's running about 0.2 of a second quicker than your leader, Indy Casey, and he's closing that gap incredibly quickly right now. It was 3.1 as of the last time I looked. It's down to 3.0, so that gap's slowly coming down, but Indy Casey still has an iron death grip on this race.
Santiago Tierra is trying to catch the leader, and it looks like he is just a couple tenths a lap faster than our leader, Indy Casey, who has had a stranglehold on this race ever since lap 13. He's now led the most laps in this race out of anybody, and will continue to do so while he's in the lead. But you can see there, he is gaining some time on entry, but it's all about the exit. You can see gets a much better exit than our leader, Indy Casey, and that just goes to show how much you can really push on exit and on entry when you have the best tires in the field. Indy Casey was extremely fast for a long period of time, and he was able to gap the rest of the field, but now you may be reeled in here.
Yeah, he's definitely being reeled in. And one thing I wanted to mention that I really like what the 17 is doing with how he's driving this track. And he's kind of ripping that paint. Of course, he's not doing it right now because just how tight the car is. But that's one thing you can do to get the car to rotate is kind of put your left side tires onto that painted yellow line there. It'll give you a little bit more grip and a little bit more rotation. I'm surprised we're not seeing more people do that, as that's one way to get this extremely tight Xfinity car to rotate around a short track like Rockingham.
That's a strategy even pro drivers used, and pro is a way to call Indy Casey, a prominent member of the eNASCAR College Series, as you can see by the banner on his race car. As we wish him luck in the College Series, not going to be easy, battling a bunch of other college students for that scholarship prize. But this is great practice as he finds himself leading lap 32 out of 99 here in the Rockingham 99 with the TKC Challenge Series. A lot of these guys, by the way, have started to kind of regroup together, but no one has regrouped quite as good as Santiago Gutierrez. He has caught up almost a second since the last time we looked, and he's actually starting to run down our leader, Indy Casey. Will it come down to green flag pit stops where we see these guys take alternate strategies, or do they go for the same for the long run? Nick, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, tonight's going to be about, it's not going to be a fuel race. It's going to be a tire race. These guys are going to be able to do about 90-ish laps on their tires. And I get the feeling that, 90 laps on fuel. And I get the feeling these guys are going to want to pit for tires before they're going to have to pit for fuel. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But right now, we're really seeing the benefit of saving your tires for the long run. And this is what I like to do when I race. I just like to save my tires as long as possible. And, you know, once you get about 30-ish laps into a run, 20 laps at some other tracks, and you start to reel in other cars, that's just the benefit of saving tires, and Santiago Gutierrez is doing that perfectly right now.
As he goes on to still be faster than our leader, Indy Casey, he has actually been catching him quite a lot. We checked in with his time just a few laps ago, and already it's almost looked like it's going to drop below. It's going to drop below a second. So just 1.2 seconds off our leader, and his best lap a 24.505. Now his last lap a 25.299. Insanely consistent. Just a few hundred slower that time around the racetrack, but still just a few tenths faster, as we can see. 25.579 for our leader, Indy Casey. So he's running about 2.5 tenths faster a lap than Indy Casey. And with how fast the laps go by here at the Rock, that's going to be no time at all for our leader. Whether he wants to try and move to the top, we can hold him off, or if he still wants to rip the bottom, knowing that he's being caught by second place.
Yeah, that's the great thing, about being so consistent, is you're able to keep those laps within a half a tenth of each other, and it's really satisfying thing to do, to be that consistent, and it just really shows the pace that is needed to do good at Rockingham. You have to be consistent. You have to be within a half a tenth of a second of each lap in order to be quick, and right now we're seeing Santiago Gutierrez do that, but Indy Casey is just kind of losing that consistency with the tires. It looks like he may have pushed a little bit too hard to start the run, and right now that 72 is paying for it with how fast the 17 of Santiago Gutierrez is catching him. Look how much this gap is closing. That is just incredible to watch.
That center speed, that extra rotation, it helps it and it gains it on exit. The run that he has here going off of the corner, we're going to ride on board. You can just see how loose the 72 is as he's trying to hold on to the lead. He's led practically almost every lap if it weren't for the beginning of the race. He has led upwards of almost 25 laps. Been our leader, a long-time leader, but now he's under fire, and there around the outside goes the 17 of Santiago Gutierrez. He's going to try and make the move. Going to squeeze him tight up to the wall, but he's going to blow past him off the exit of 2.
Oh man, there couldn't have been a couple of inches between that 17 car and that wall. That is how you run Rockingham, and I'm just sitting here watching on board with the 17 of Santiago Gutierrez, and it's satisfying to watch how fast and how consistent and how close to the wall he's getting. That's how you got to race a short track. You got to be as close to the wall as possible. I mean, heck, that's how you got to race every track. You got to use as much of the track as they give you, and that 17 of Santiago Gutierrez is playing it perfectly, as right now we're seeing a little bit of a battle here between Eugenio Alonso and the 5 of Kyle Manger. It looks like this is a lap car that they're trying to lap, and it looks like it's slowing up Kyle Manger a little bit, and maybe on a fresh tires user for that lap car.
We've already got another side-by-side battle on the track. Alonso, Manger changing spots in 1 and 2. A great move for Eugenio Alonso as that moves him up into the 3rd spot. Lap 42 out of 99, and it's been green since that first yellow. A lot of these guys taking caution over risk. So a lot of these guys starting to back off their pace. As we saw a lot of these guys being super aggressive early on. We saw a half spin, and that got into the heads and said, hey, maybe I got to calm it down. There's still a lot of the race left to run. So why don't I bide my time, save my tires, and see how much I can make in the end. And that's exactly what we saw out of the 17 Gutierrez, as he blew past our leader, Vindy Casey, but now, looking on the timing sheet, it's kind of stagnated. Now they're about maybe half a second between each other. So don't count Indy Casey out just yet. He may have been loose, but I think he's going to come back.
Yeah, but what we're seeing right now is this, the 17 is Santiago Torres. He's really falling off right now. He may have just had to pass some traffic, but his last lap was a 26.2, so falling off a little bit here, but I think it's just mainly lap traffic and having to deal with just getting around all the traffic and having to deal with the tire wear here. As now we're starting to see Santiago Torres pull that advantage we saw him have over Indy Casey over the last 15 laps or so.
Really starting to stretch out his lead, as once did the driver behind him did. Indy Casey, our one-time long leader. As we see some pit stops, 27 rolls down pit road. And doesn't look like anyone else in the field is going to take the opportunity. That's Colin Grace, who's sitting second currently. Started second and now finds himself in 10th. So a differing of pit strategy is going to see him not on the lead lap anymore. But could this be a strategy to behold and maybe one to work in the end? A lot of these drivers still have not come down pit road for tires. And as I believe John Bawalda just smacked the outside wall coming out of 2.
Yeah, that was John Bawalda. Going back to Colin Grace, so he's going to be a couple laps down, but that's just the risk of gambling with pit strategy. You got to know how much time you're going to lose. It's Rockingham, short track, short lap time, so you're going to lose a couple of laps, and that's just, like I said, part of the gamble of pitting so early, and that's going to have to be a gamble a lot of these guys are going to have to take. It's John Bawalda trying to get to the inside of Santiago Torres to get his lap back the hard way. Almost makes a little bit of contact with that 17 machine, but he ends up clearing him pretty easily. But as I was saying, it's going to be a gamble on when you want to pit here, and no matter what, you're going to lose a ton of time, most likely a couple of laps depending on when you pit and where you pit from. And we saw Colin Grace pit from about, I think it was 5th position there, and he lost almost 3 laps there. So just kind of managing the gamble, managing the risk that you need to take to have a good strategy here.
A lot of these drivers now having to battle the fight of risk versus reward. Do I run that high side lane and rip the fence? Just as Dale Jr. was explaining just a couple of days ago, and Indy Casey comes down pit road on lap 50 to take tires now. At this point, it's a no-brainer. You go down, 4 tires and fuel, and you're out. But with these guys having enough fuel to probably go to the end of the race, they won't have to save any. It's just going to be a tire stop. As Indy Casey comes in, we see some more guys coming down to pit road. Our leader still stays out. He has not come down pit road yet. Indy Casey has. But will the overcut work compared to the undercut? With how much time we saw drop off, I don't think the overcut's worth it.
Actually, Rockingham, weirdly enough, is one of the tracks where the overcut could work, but you need to pit fairly quickly after the car you're racing for it to work. So here at Rockingham, that would be within about 5 or 6 laps before that advantage starts to wear off a little bit, and we'll probably see Santiago Torres come in within the next few laps, because I'll tell you what he's doing staying out so long. He's trying to get the shorter stint to end the race. That way he'll have the fresher tires at the end, and that's not a bad strategy either, trying to get that shorter tire run. And right now he's on lap 52 of the run, so he's shooting for about lap 55, 56, 57, somewhere around there to try and pit, and that'll leave him with about 42-ish laps on his tires at the end, and that's a big advantage at Rockingham with how bad the tires can get here.
So will he pay the price early or will he pay the price late? Indy Casey with the last lap of the 24.655. It's only 0.3 off his best lap. Now, he's absolutely flying on the racetrack. So now, it's up to Santiago Torres, whose last lap was almost a full second slower. So, was it worth it to go down pit road and try and see if he can gain those extra couple of seconds early? Or is he doing what he's doing now and staying out? Is that going to be beneficial in the long run to help him leapfrog the 72 machine back out on track once again? It's lap 55, but he still hasn't come down from pit road. I wonder if he's going to try and go all the way to the end.
No, it's not possible to go to the end on fuel, and right around now is where I would pit to kind of keep that advantage with the overcut. And these guys, I don't think they have a fuel restriction, but if they do, they definitely would not be able to make it on fuel, as I believe the limit is 90 laps. I think it's either 91 or 92. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we should see that 17 come in soon for tires, because his tires have to be screaming at this point. He's over a second slower a lap compared to Indy Casey. And actually, here he comes now, 17 is Santiago Torres coming down pit road.
Santiago Torres locks up the tires and slides to the pit road line, but he finds himself down pit road, and immediately in the second position is Kyle Major. Still out on track right now, and a lot of these guys still a lap down, but that's because he didn't pit. And now that he has pit, it's going to be go, go, go for Indy Casey to see if he can make up the time out on track. Oh, and he misses his pit stall. He has to back up, and that's going to cost him extra time. So already not off to a great start for the pit stop for the 17. Santiago Torres, that's going to leave him already losing time compared to the rest of the guys on track. And Kyle Major still out front right now, lap 58 out of 99. So much of this race has already gone by, but there's still a lot of road left to run. These guys have still got to make sure that they know when to push and they know when to take it easy, as that's going to be a crucial factor in who gets to victory lane here tonight at the Rock.
Yeah, so Indy Casey did jump Santiago Torres there by a pretty good margin as well. So, but you said go, go, go time for the 72. That's where I say no, it's slow down time, because you're going to have to save a ton of tire to be on pace with Santiago Torres by the end of this race, because he's going to have 7 lap fresher tires than you at the end of this race. And while that may not seem like a lot, we've said it multiple times tonight, this track is a cheese grater on the tires. This track shreds tires. It eats tires for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and these guys are definitely going to be feeling it. And I bet you Indy Casey's already starting to feel that wear.
The leader is clutching. We're hearing from our producer. He's got the inside info on some of these guys in the field now. Hear me out. I don't like to brag or boast or anything, but I was in a league race in the Next Gens at Kansas, and I saved almost 4 laps over what I needed to coming to the line. So it is definitely possible at a track like this. You can do it at Kansas. You can definitely do it here at the Rock, and that's what Kyle Major is going to try and do. Trying to do the fuel save. Does it work in the long run? We'll have to see. You can see his RPMs fluctuating. So right now he's chosen to keep going full flat out on the gas, and there you can see the RPMs just drop throughout the corner. And as he has the major lift section of the corner, he's going to completely lift off the gas and get all the way on the clutch and roll it through the center. And while, yes, he may be slower, he won't have a pit stops and a half worth of time. So, yes. Can they make up a lot of time? Yes. Will they make up a lot of time? Yes. But could this work in the long run? We'll just have to see. Lap 63 coming to 64 out of 99. And Kyle Major, still your leader, and is clutching.
I'll be the first to tell you, I don't think this is going to work for Kyle Major, mainly because of how much time Indy Casey is gaining. I mean, you take a look right here. Indy Casey has only been on the lead lap for less than 2 laps, and he's already gained over 4.5 seconds. And look how much this gap is falling. It's not going to work. I'll be the first to tell you, it is not going to work. Yes, there's only about 30 laps left, just over 35 actually. Or excuse me, exactly 35 laps, and it's not going to work. I don't see any way that fuel saving this long will be able to work, because he's going to have to, once Indy Casey catches up, he's going to, Kyle Major's going to have to find a way to hold off Indy Casey on that much older tires. I just don't see a way it's possible.
That's what I thought about the race leader in the race I was talking about, James Thurston, one of the fastest guys I know on this service. He was leading the race, and from what we knew, he wasn't saving fuel for the entire run like we were. And lo and behold, he comes across the line with fumes. So it's definitely possible what you think may be impossible. With the right driver skill, car knowledge, and knowledge of the track, it's most definitely possible. One added benefit that he may be doing is he may be switching off the ignition to save even more gas. And that's what James Thurston was doing on his route to the Iowa victory at Kansas. And that could be what we're seeing here right now with Kyle Manger, who's taking the extra step in not only lifting, clutching, and he could be shutting the ignition off. So there is no spark in that engine to burn fuel. He is just completely coasting. Still first, gained about 6 spots after starting 7th. So an interesting strategy to say the least. But I think it may work out in the long run. We'll have to see. Still about a handful of laps left to go, but there's still plenty of time for these guys to make up their mind whether or not it's go time to try and catch Kyle.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll work. I think it's going to be close. The gap's 16.5. The gap's coming down by over a second a lap, and I just don't see any way it works for Kyle Manger. I mean, he'll definitely be able to get like maybe a top 5 out of it, but I just don't see any way where he gets the win. Indy Casey is too fast, and unless Indy Casey burns the tires off of the car very quickly, I just don't see a way it's possible. And of course, you got to watch out for Santiago Gutierrez as well, who's on fresher tires than Indy Casey. So it's a very, very risky gamble for Kyle Manger to try and make it from lap 5 all the way to lap 99. And I like the boldness of the call. It's just I got to question if it's even possible to not only make it to the end from here, but be able to hold off Indy Casey and Santiago Gutierrez once their tires start to wear off, because they are already starting to fall off. Don't get me wrong, but it's going to be very, very close at the end.
You're absolutely right about that, but with lap times being so small here at the Rock, while you can gain a lot of time, there's not a lot of distance to cover. Just a mile is what Kyle Manger has to try and save per lap as he gets loose off of 2. So obviously he's still pushing his race car. But with these guys pushing so hard to catch Kyle, may they burn that right rear and get that temperature out of its comfortable zone. And out of its comfort zone, nigh to get extremely slidey and loose. With just 28 laps to go, Kyle Manger still our leader, and doing one of the most creative strategies. I don't think he's going to come down to pit ever.
Well, he did pit on that original caution, so he has pit once already, but what he's trying to do is make it 94 laps on field, which is bold, but it's going to be close. Now the gap is now under 1 second, or excuse me, he's currently losing by under 1 second a lap now. Indy Casey has gotten the gap down to 12.3, but the 72 is starting to fall off, so it's going to be something that we're going to have to watch. The gap's 11.4 now, and yeah, I'm sitting here watching this. I'm kind of on the edge of my seat now, because it's getting a lot more doable for Kyle Manger right now.
Getting a lot more doable is what we have been seeing now. Coming across the line, just 25 miles left for Kyle Manger to try and navigate around this racetrack. Coming up, these guys are going to try and catch him as fast as they can, but I'm still saying that Kyle right now, although he may be saving, he could be trying to save over. That way, he's not pushing his right rear as much, and he's saving gas. That way, when these guys are pushing their tires to the absolute limit, burning up that right rear and burning their fuel, he has reserves in both tire and fuel, using every inch of the racetrack. Kyle, using that bottom lane, shaving off feet. He is not clutching anymore. So clearly, he thinks he has enough to make it to the end. I'm starting to worry if maybe he stopped clutching too soon.
Yeah, I'm sitting here watching, and now Indy Casey and Santiago Gutierrez, they're getting close to being able to battle for position. Plus, they're having to go through lap traffic, so it looks like all the dominoes are falling in the right ways for Kyle Manger here. The gap between Indy Casey and Santiago Gutierrez is not even a half second right now, and Santiago Gutierrez, this is going to be an easy pass for the 17 car. He's got 7 lap fresher tires compared to Indy Casey. That's going to allow that 17 car to be able to go after Kyle Manger, but he's going to have to work through a lot of lap traffic. That's 4 cars in front of him he's going to have to pass in order to be able to get up to Kyle Manger, and the gap's falling down now. It's 8.7, 8.8 for both of these drivers, and Santiago Gutierrez, he's going to make the pass pretty easily on Indy Casey, but now he's got to worry about the lap cars in front of him. That's Matt Haas right in front of Santiago Gutierrez. He's got Sam Boland, Colin Grace, Leif Madsen before he's able to get up to Kyle Manger. So it's a lot of work to do and 23 laps, but this is going to be extremely close.
This is going to be one of the best finishes we are going to ever have in this league. Right here, a fuel strategy race coming down. Whether or not you picked the right strategy is going to lead either Kyle Manger or the 17 or the 72 to victory lane. Indy Casey could go to victory lane for the first time this season, but so could Santiago Gutierrez. As 21 laps to go, just zoning in on that handful of laps just left to go. We're seeing a lot of these drivers run these different lanes, and that could be to the benefit of everybody. But now I'm thinking that these guys trying to catch Kyle have realized what his strategy might be, and they might be backing off just a little bit to see if they can have that little extra in the tank during those last handful of laps to see if they can push to go catch him. Oh, the 27 and the 13 get loose right in front of our leaders. They get loose trying to get out of the way, and contact between the 27 and the 13 going into turn number 3. 20 to go. He's going to spin it on the apron. No caution is called. We stay green, and that is extremely surprising. That has to scare our second and third place drivers who were just trying to catch our leader of Kyle Manger, and Kyle may have taken a breather there. I mean, that might just be exactly what he wanted to see.
No, it's not, because that allowed Santiago Gutierrez to get through those 2 lap cars, which he would have had to fight past, because they were fighting for position at that moment, and that just hurt any chances Kyle Manger had, because now Santiago Gutierrez has 1 more lap car to get through. And matter of fact, we're looking on board. You can see Kyle Manger. He's going through turns 3 and 4 right there. He's the second car in front of Santiago Gutierrez, so that gap is falling at an incredible rate. And unless Santiago Gutierrez gets really slowed down by this lap car, this is the 77 of Life Madsen right in front of him. I just don't see any way in which it's possible for Kyle Manger to win this race. He'll definitely get a top 5 out of this because he's got a lap on Matt Haas, but I don't think it's possible for Kyle Manger to win now.
Well, depending on if there is a late race yellow, doing battle with the 77 is Santiago Gutierrez, and actually the 77 was looking to put up a strong fight, but can't keep it going, as Tierra is now ripping that wall, running a diamond lane. You know, that's what I've never seen that here at The Rock, but he's using every line available to him on the racetrack. And we were saying how it may be possible and it may not be possible, but we've still got over 15 miles left to cover. And you can see Kyle Manger just starting to show up in your picture. So Kyle, while it may have been a great strategy in mind, may not be so great in the end. But if a late race caution does come out, Kyle is going to be sitting pretty with not only track position, but everyone else is going to pit, because if you don't, you are literally going backwards, and there is no chance for you on the restart. So with 14 laps left to go, if you're Kyle Manger, what do you do here, Nick?
You've made your bed already. You gotta sleep in it, and that's exactly what Kyle Manger's gonna have to do. Because if he pits now under green flag conditions, he's gonna lose multiple laps and multiple positions. He may even fall back towards 8th or 9th right now. But like I said, you made your bed already. You gotta lay in it, and unless we get a caution here, it's not possible for Kyle Manger. If that first caution would have been 15 laps later, I think Kyle Manger would have been able to do it, but it's just too tall of a task to be able to do 94 laps on the tires. It's almost impossible, but Kyle Manger's trying to do it right now.
And you know what? He got oh so close with just 13 miles remaining in the race. He was so close to maintaining that lead, but right now, here is the battle for third. It's going to be between one of the guys, a couple of guys at the points of 72 slides up the racetrack. Indy Casey, who was leading this race earlier, finds himself doing battle with Alonso, and now these two are going to have at it. But will this hurt the charge trying to get back to the lead?
Yeah, we're going to see Eugenio Alonso. He's going to make a position pass for second place here. And that 86, we've seen him all race. He's been quick. He's been fast. And yeah, he's just putting his mark on this league. He is saying he is here to play. And that 86, I mean, he may not be the fastest in the field, but he's definitely a favorite. But we're going to put our hands in the air because it's 10 to go, baby.
With just 10 miles left to run here in Rockingham, North Carolina, we've got 10 miles left in action, and anybody still has a chance to win in case a late race yellow comes out. A lot of these guys starting to try and sit pretty. Eugenio Alonso looking to move up through the rest of the field, catching our leader at what seemed to be about a couple tenths a lap. Now that's kind of slowed down. Our leader, Santiago Gutierrez, has run an incredible race after taking the lead away from Indy Casey, and he has not looked back ever since. Kyle Manger tried to go away and tried to do the fuel-saving strategy, and it just didn't come up the way he wanted it to. But we will not gloss over the fact that he is still second. If a late race yellow comes out, he is sitting pretty. Well, as well as he may be loose, he is sitting pretty in order to take a pit stop, maybe a splash and go with some fuel, and he is going to be absolutely delighted if he sees that yellow flag away from Barney up in the flag stand on the front stretch.
Yeah, and he's starting to clutch in again, so he may be a little bit closer on fuel than he thought, but I tell you what, Kyle Manger, he is just looking for the white flag. Not to surrender, but for the white flag of this race, because he is in purgatory right now with how bad these tires are. And his favorite flag, his favorite color is getting ready to be white, because it's coming down to it, and he wants to be out of this car. He wants to be off these tires. I can already guarantee you that.
I mean, it was a valiant effort. If I was in the position and the caution had come out just a bit later, I would have too. But here comes Eugenio Alonso to make the move on Kyle Manger, and they're racing door to door. I thought it was just going to be a pushover. He's going to give him a good battle here. He's going to squeeze him down to the yellow line with just 4 laps to go coming to the stripe. Kyle Manger could still take second place. This battle is not over just yet. He could go down to the bottom and try and make a run for it, but I don't think it's going to work as he slides up into the wall. I just don't think those tires are going to hold on long enough. But still, to come home P3 would mean so much for him in the points. That would move him up to the race lead. That would move him up to the championship lead in points.
Yeah, it's like I said, it was a bold strategy, and it just ended up not working. We've both said our sentiments. I think if that caution would have come out later, he would have been able to do it. But it looks like a P3. A P3 is not a bad finish, especially with a short field tonight. That's going to be a lot of good points. And as you said, it should put him up in the championship lead. So he'll be in a really, really good place going to Las Vegas here in a couple of weeks. And Vegas with the Xfinity cars, that's going to be an absolute blast. So I'm excited for that race here in a couple of weeks.
Well, you know, I was mentioning that might put him to the championship lead, but we've still got over 3 miles to go, and look who's on the move again. Indy Casey has absolutely cut the gap down, and this is the battle for the championship lead coming out of tonight's race, and you can just see how much time he gains on entry. He absolutely sent it in, and this is going to be a battle close to the line. Just about a couple miles left to navigate here in the Rock. Going down through turns 1 and 2, he gives him the block. He's going to block him all the way up the racetrack, going back down Thunder Alley. It's a battle between the 72 of Indy Casey and the 5 of Kyle Manger to get away with the points lead. And Kyle Manger's going to slide up the track, and he may have just given the championship lead away, but white flag is in the air, and the man who has controlled the race ever since taking the lead away on about lap 42, Santiago Gutierrez has ran an immaculate race. He is absolutely stunted on the field, and he has shown them who's boss and maybe a championship favorite. Santiago Gutierrez is going to come home with the race victory in that number 17 Maconi Setup Shop's machine on Maconi Entertainment, and what was going to be a phenomenal third-place finish for Kyle Manger. He ends up, I believe, in the 4th spot, and he will go second. Or actually, we'll see. He ran out of fuel in turn 4 on the last lap. So he ran out of fuel, had tried to stretch it to stretching it to the checkered, and that's almost what he did to perfection, but no one ran this race as perfect as Santiago Gutierrez. He comes home with the victory in the number 17 Maconi Setup Shops Chevrolet Camaro, and I believe he's going to burn it down, still parked on the line. As a great race from him, he absolutely dominated the rest of this field. Absolutely dominating performance here from The Rock tonight. I believe that's me, where he's going to leave it. Well, after a phenomenal race here in The Rock, let's get a look at the final results. Santiago Gutierrez wipes the field there at just the end of the race. Eugenio Alonso just about 9 seconds behind. Indy Casey 12.039 seconds behind. And Kyle Manger, who tried to stretch the fuel as much as he could, ends up 13 seconds back from the lead. But all four of those guys absolutely decimated the rest of the field. Justin Knoll, Sam Boland, Matt Haas, all these guys a lap down, and then the rest of everybody multiple laps down. The top four was absolutely dominant here tonight, and a true showing of what was really about this racetrack. You had to be so well in tune with man and machine. You had to know the track, and you had to know what your car was going to do, and that's exactly what Santiago Gutierrez absolutely destroyed the field tonight. Phenomenal race from him. Well, after a phenomenal race, we've gone over results. We thank all of you guys for tuning in, and we'd like to take a thank to some of our sponsors who make this all possible. We'd like to thank the home of everything that you could be streamed, Maconi Entertainment. Whether it's a hosted race, whether it's a league, Maconi Entertainment has your back, can host anything and can broadcast anything you would like to see on the iRacing scene. And another note, we'd like to thank the TKC Series. They're the ones who put these races on, and they're the ones who will be able to put on these races and to view those at home. We'd like to thank them for putting on such a fantastic race here at The Rock tonight. A lot of these guys really banging home, and who could we all but thank the Maconi Setup Shop, the official setup shop of eNASCAR. Tired of being in the back of these fixed fields? Go to MaconiSetupShop.com to get the best setups in eNASCAR, and that's going to put you to the front of the field. One more thing we'd like to go over. Get ready for Week 3 at Las Vegas, November 13th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't go anywhere, because in 2 weeks' time, we're going to roll the dice in Vegas, and let's see who's going to get lucky here from the Center State. We're going to close out tonight's show. It has been fantastic to be here in the booth with everybody. Nick, it's been a fantastic experience with you. And don't forget to tune in Week 3 for Las Vegas. I have been your host. I have been Alexander Valderas, joined by Nick in the booth, and DJ Lion producing just behind us. He's been the man behind the cameras and the man who brought us the cameras, the great Dougie Beard. Thank you so much for tuning in to tonight's race. Thank you to our sponsors, Maconi Setup Shop, as well as our broadcast partners, the Touring Kart Championship. Calling tonight, the action, myself, Alexander Valderas, alongside Nick Steen in the booth with DJ Lion producing. Thanks to all of our viewers for watching tonight's racing action, and you hope to stay tuned into all of our social media pages for our next race. Thanks to the entire staff who work to bring this picture to you and this racing to you. This has been a production of Maconi Entertainment. We'll see you at the next checkered flag. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night, everybody.